Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 45 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine today. With this magazine we've got two layer paints, Wild Rider Red and Wazdaka Red. And as always, if you'd like to skip straight to the battle report, there's a timecode in the description or in the chapter bars. But having a look inside this issue, first we've got some backstory on the Caradron Overlords. These are a race of Dwardian who are technologically advanced and great traders and explorers with their sky fleets of airships. There's a bit more here about their skyports and trade, and then the Caradron Code and Ether Gold, which is what powers their technology. Then some more history of the Everspring Swathe. This talks about the mistrust between Nagash and Alariel, how she gave him a part of her realm to try and placate him, but this truce didn't really hold for long. On the other side there's a bit about Kurnoth, the god of the wild and hunting, who was killed during the Age of Chaos, and also about the coming of Bahamut, the world titan, father of the Gargant race. Then a bit about the Dominion of Sigmar and the Sigmarite Mausoleums, that obviously we had the terrain feature for some time, but it's just talking about the history of essentially humans building tombs to keep their dead in. How some of these are tombs of great heroes, but also how many of those laid to rest have now risen into unlife, thanks to the powers of Nagash. Then we have a little bit of fiction about a fight between the Caradron Overlords and some demons of Khorne. So there's some artwork there. And then on to our painting tutorial on painting red highlights. We've learned how to do highlighting, but this is using our new paints. So we've got Wazdaka Red for some of the leather parts on the Nighthaunt, and also on the Stormcast, like the tabards of the artillery engineers, roses on the Nighthaunt bases, and then the insides of tabards and the plumes on the Stormcast. And finally there's a few models there with some red on them, showing off how it looks. And with this issue we also get another fold-out insert. This one's about the Forces of Destruction, and we've got basically a lot of pictures of models here. So on the centre and the left panel we've got two Mega Gargants, gigantic destructive creatures. And on the right some more about the Ogre Moor tribes. There's an Ogre hunter there mounted on a gigantic stone horn. And on the reverse, on the left-hand side, some more about the Orc war clans, which we've learnt about. There's a boss model there mounted on a Maw Crusher. And then the Gloomspite Gits, who are much smaller greenskins, but they have all sorts of terrifying beasts to bring, including squigs and gigantic spiders. And there's also, in the bottom right, a Troggoth. But that's it for our content about this issue, so we'll get straight into our game now.
So before we can get into our game for this issue, we have some new rules to look at. So in the last issue we got a war scroll for our Azurite ruins, and now we have some extended rules for terrain. So it says here how when you're setting up terrain, to make them a little bit more interesting, you can give them some optional rules. So you can choose one of these 6 or just roll randomly for them. And you can do that instead of using the war scroll. We'll probably use the war scroll, certainly in this issue. So we're not going to show any of these off in this game, but we will in future ones. So with the options here, you can have a damned terrain piece where if a unit is within 1 inch, you can choose to have that unit take D3 mortal wounds, but then they can re-roll hit rolls of 1 until your next hero phase. Arcane gives you +1 to casting or unbinding rolls for wizards if they're within 1 inch of the terrain feature. Inspiring and Sinister are basically the same but opposite, so they either increase or reduce the bravery characteristic of the unit by 1 if they're within 1 inch. Deadly terrain piece, if you finish a normal move or charge within 1 inch of the deadly terrain, you roll a dice and on a 1 and that unit takes D3 mortal wounds. And a mystical terrain piece gives units within 1 inch or models within 1 inch. When they take a wound you can roll the dice on a 6 or more. The wound or mortal wound is negated. We also have rules here for garrisons. Some terrain features are considered garrisons. Units can enter a garrison if they begin their turn if all the models of the unit are within 6 inches of the terrain feature, that is a garrison, and there aren't any enemy units within 3 inches of the terrain feature, or enemy units inside it. In that case, you take the unit off the battlefield and they are considered to be inside the garrison, and then they measure all ranges and effects and things as if the garrison was the model. So if you're casting a spell, you would measure from the edge of the garrison, not where the wizard is. And then units can fight and be attacked and shot at and shoot at and cast spells at and cast spells out of a garrison. Units within the garrison count as being in cover, so they get +1 to their saves, unless they're Nighthaunt obviously because of ethereal, and you also get -1 to hit garrisoning units with attacks. And then a garrisoning unit can leave a garrison in your movement phase, and they have to be set up wholly within 6 inches of the terrain feature and more than 3 inches away from any enemy models, and then that counts as their move for the movement phase. And it also talks about how some garrisons can have flat parts. You can just put models there for decoration. You don't actually measure any ranges or anything from them. You still measure from the garrison. And the units that can fly can move over the garrison, but they can't actually stop on the flat parts. They would have to garrison the terrain feature in order to actually go within it. And on the next pages, going over some of the different types of terrain, just examples for deadly and mystical terrain. It says that the Sigmar statue here, since we don't have a war scroll for that, it's ideal for using the scenery table. It shows a tutorial for garrisons and how to enter and leave them, using the Sigmarite Mausoleum as an example. And on the next page it shows how you can shoot out of and how garrisons work in combat. And then we have a war scroll for the Sigmarite Mausoleum, so it tells you how many parts it has. So basically we have a complete mausoleum here. You can garrison models in a Sigmarite Mausoleum, up to 30 wounds worth of models. And it also mentions here it has a rule where it counts as a gravesite for the purposes of the Domain of the Dead trait for Battletome Legions of Nagash. That's probably not going to be relevant for this magazine, but if you do end up getting that book, it is helpful in that case, I suppose. And then on the next page it offers some suggested layouts for the mausoleum. And now we can look at the battle plan for this issue, so a little bit of backstory here. So Nighthaunt are pouring into the Sigyorn through various portals and realm gates that are controlled by the Nighthaunt, and Xandria Azurebolt is leading a small force of Stormcast to try and delay them, and they are taking cover in a Sigmarite Mausoleum before attacking some incoming Nighthaunt. Until battle plan, ambush at the crypts. So have a look at the map and the forces. So we have a single board with the Sigmarite Mausoleum in the middle. For our armies we have a Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, 4 Grimgrass Reapers, 10 Chainrasps and 3 Spirit Hosts for the Nighthaunt, facing off against Xandria Azurebolt and 3 Evocators and 5 Secretors. Then, so we set up the Sigmarite Mausoleum in the middle of the board, and then the Stormcast player deploys a unit first and we alternate. And the Stormcast player gets the first turn in the first battle round, and the game lasts for 4 battle rounds. And the Sigmarite Mausoleum is an objective, and whoever has the most models within 3 inches of it controls it. And we get victory points, so like in the previous games, whoever destroyed the most wounds worth of models at the end of the battle round gets 2 victory points, and 1 victory point each if it's a tie. And then at the end of each battle round, whoever controls the mausoleum gets 2 victory points. And just down here on the back page, we have some counters you can use to mark the different types of terrain on the scenery table, just to help you remember. But with that overview over, we'll come back after we've set up the battlefield and finished deploying. And so we finished deployment, so here have the mausoleum set up, how it showed in the magazine, in the centre of the board. We'll do the Stormcast first. We have the 3 Evocators, Xandria and the 5 Secretors.
And Xandria will be the general, obviously.
And over on the Nighthaunt side we have the 3 Spirit Hosts, the 10 Chainrasps, the 4 Grimghost Reapers over at the far end, and then the Knight of Shrouds, who will be my general, just tucked in behind the Spirit Hosts and Chainrasps. And the Stormcast get the first turn of the first battle round, so we'll head into Stormcast turn 1.
So we gain a command point in the hero phase, and then Xandria's going to try and cast Spirit Storm, because if she can get forward, she can reduce the Nighthaunt's run and charge rolls. So it goes off on a 7. That is an 8, so yes. We'll just use that dice next to her to remember that, and then we'll try and do Empower from the Evocators as well. Needs a 6. Nope. And then for movement, everybody ran. They all rolled large numbers. I didn't really want them to move that far, so it was adequate. So Xandria's going to stand here next to the mausoleum. This gets her within 18 inches of the whole Nighthaunt army, so they reduce their run and charge rolls, Spirit Storm. And then the Secretors have spread out over here to block off this route, and the Evocators are just bringing up the rear.
Yeah, and that'll be it for the Stormcast turn on to Nighthaunt turn 1. So, in my hero phase I gained a command point, but in my movement phase the Chainrasps moved up. They did actually run. By roll to 2 they got reduced to 1, but that's enough to get all 10 of them within 3 inches of the mausoleum. And the Spirit Host moved up normally. Technically we could charge, but we need to roll by 12, it's pretty not worth it. And the Grimghost Reapers and the Knight of Shrouds are going to hang back a little bit, so they're actually going to be out of range of Spirit Storm for the next turn, and in case the Stormcast get to go first. But that will actually be the end of the first battle round. Neither of us killed any models, so we are technically tied on number of wounds caused. We get 1 victory point each. And then I have 10 models in range of the mausoleum, which is more models than the Stormcast actually have in total. So Stormcast get 1 victory point and the Nighthaunt get 3 victory points. So there we are at the end of the battle round. 3 victory points to 1 for the Nighthaunt. Rolling off. I got a 4.
I got a 5. I'm actually going to make the Nighthaunt go first, because I don't think they can actually engage me with too much this turn.
Okay, so I head into Nighthaunt turn 2. Well, that's not going to be a very exciting turn on my part. I'm going to gain a command point, and then there's going to be some shuffling around from the Spirit Hosts and the Chain Rasps, so that if the Stormcast move up, it'll be harder to charge. I could have moved the Spirit Hosts up and then charge. I could get them into the Evocators fairly easily, but probably wouldn't actually do that much damage. Might kill one of them, and then they'd get attacked by everything, so I don't think that's worth it just yet. And we're just going to use our numerical advantage to keep hold of the objective for now, and we'll go into Stormcast turn 2.
So we gain another command point, and then we're going to try and cast Spirit Storm again. Healing a 7. Oh, just about. So that's a mortal wound to the Chain Rasp and to the Spirit Hosts.
Yeah. I'll put one on this Spirit Host, and then we'll kill that Chain Rasp there.
And then we'll try and do Empower again as well. Healing a 6. Oh, getting an 11. And then in the movement phase, we've moved up the Evocators and Xandria this way around the building. And then the Secretors ran, and they're all 2, but that's fine, they're coming around this way, keeping 4 of them within range of the objective.
Yep.
And then we'll be on to the charge phase, where we'll declare a charge with the Evocators. It's a speculative one, I think it needs a 9. That is a 6, but I have command points to spend, so...
Yeah, might as well re-roll it.
Looking for a 9. Oh, that's a 9.
Uh-oh.
Actually, that is just out, because of this corner of the ruin here means it needs to go that way ever so slightly, so 9 is not quite enough to reach.
And that'll actually be the end of the battle round. So at the end of the battle round, the Stormcast killed 1 wound worth of models, so they get 2 victory points. And I have probably 11 models within 3 inches of the garrison, while there are only 8 Stormcast. One of the Secretors is out of range, so I get 2 victory points. So at the end of the battle round, it'll be 5 victory points to 3, with the Nighthaunt in the lead. And we'll be rolling off at the start of battle round 3. I get a 1.
More than that, so yeah, I will go first this time.
Yep, we'll head into Stormcast turn 3.
So back up to 2 command points, and we'll do Spirit Storm again. 7. Oh, getting those consistently.
Yeah. Take away this Chain Rasp. Spirit Host takes a mortal wound. Lose a Reaper. And the Knight of Shrouds will take a mortal wound. Down to 5.
And then the Evocators will do Empower again.
Yep.
Healing a 6. They got it with a 10. They'll put that on themselves. And then the Evocators and Xandria have moved around the corner again. And the Secretors are coming the opposite way around the Mausoleum. So we'll be on to the charge phase. We'll start with the Evocators. They got a 5, which is the minimum required. I'm just going to see if I might reroll that. So 5 inches is enough to get the front 2 Evocators in range, but not the rear one, so I am going to reroll it. It's a risk, but it also might allow me to get Xandria in as well. A 7, that's good. So 7 gets them to there, and then we'll declare a charge with Xandria as well. She's good, I think, with an 8. That's enough to get her into the gap that I left in there, and then the Secretors will have a go as well. They roll a 3, so definitely going to have to re-roll that. That's not enough. So down to no command points left. 4, I think, is just about enough, but we shall see. So it's still not that much, but it is enough to get this one Secretor within half an inch, and then the rest are following up. So then we'll be on to the combat phase, and the Secretors will declare powers of weapons.
Yeah, and I'm going to put Lord of Gheists on the Chain Rasps.
So then we'll be on to the combat phase, and the Secretors will declare powers of weapons.
Yeah, and I'm going to put Lord of Gheists on the Chain Rasps.
But then I'm going to pick the Evocators to fight first.
Okay.
So that Evocator on the end is piled in, and they're all in range. So we have 13 attacks on the Spirit Host, hitting on 3s. I think that's 8 hits. And then wounding on 3s, re-rolling because they've got Empower. So I can re-roll those 2 failures. 7 wounds.
4 plus saves. Oh, I only failed 2. Blimey. And goes down to 2 wounds.
And then the Evocators get their Celestial Lightning Arc, and I'll pick the Spirit Host for that. So 6 dice, because there are 3 of them. 4 pluses cause mortal wounds. 6 mortal wounds, wow.
Enough to kill the Spirit Hosts. So I'm going to pick the Chain Rasp to go. So the Chain Rasp might as well pile in like that. So we'll get 4 attacking Xandria, and then 4 attacking the Secretors, including the Dreadwarden. So I'll do Xandria's first. We got an extra attack from Lord of Gheists. 12 attacks from the 4 Chain Rasps, hitting on 4s. Looks like 7 hits. And then wounding on 4s. Ooh, getting 4 wounds.
Xandria has a 3 plus save. Wow, she takes 3 wounds.
Down to 2. And then 13 attacks on the Secretors, hitting on 4s. So that's 8 hits. And wounding on 4s. Getting 4.
And then 4 plus saves, re-rolling 1s, because we have some shields. Failed all of them, re-roll the 2 1s. Okay, it's 2 successes, so that's 1 dead Secretor. So somehow this one over here dies. And then I will pick Xandria to fight back first, doesn't really matter which order I do it. So 3 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits, and wounding on 3s. 1 wound.
5 plus save for Chain Rasps, come on, yes!
Piling in the Secretors, we get all 3 of the Great Maces in range, and this one here just has to stand at the back.
Yep.
7 attacks from Great Maces hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses. Well, they all hit, and we've got a 6, which does D3. Oh, it's still only 1, so just 7 hits. Wounding on 3s. Only 3.
5+ saves. Oh, made none of them, so that's 6 dead chain rasps. So everyone except the Dread Warden and his friend. And that will be the end of the turn. I will just spend a command point to not make a Battletop test with the chain rasps. So my turn, I gain a command point, and then the Knight of Shrouds and the 3 Grimghast Reapers remaining are going to move so they're 3 inches away from the Secators. And we'll go straight into the charge phase. I'll do the Knight of Shrouds first. Anything but a 3, getting a 6, that's definitely enough. So the Knight of Shrouds will end up there, and then the Grimghast Reapers will charge as well. And they need a 4 because of Xandria Azurebolt Spirit Storm. Anything but a 4, getting a 5, that's the minimum. So that'll be the end of the charge phase, onto the combat phase. Knight of Shrouds to use Lord of Garrison himself. And the Secators will declare power to shields, because I do still have a shield left. Yeah, so I'll do the Knight of Shrouds first. So we've got 5 attacks with the Sword of Stolen Hours, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 3s, getting 3, -1 rend. So 5+, re-rolling 1s, 2s and 3s.
1s, 2s and 3s. Re-rolling 1s, 2s and 3s. Oh, okay, still 2 fails. Yeah, so that's 4 damage so far. Yeah, and 3 attacks with the horse, hitting on 4s, getting 2, and wounding on 5s, getting 2. Go on, horse. Oh, 4+ saves re-rolling.
Oh, come on.
Oh. Phew. So we actually lose 2 whole Secators. I will take away this one with the shield, and then this one.
Yeah, because otherwise they'd be out of coherency.
So I'm going to pick the Secators to attack with. This one will pile in that way, like that, so he gets within an inch of the Grimghast Reapers, and then I'll put all my attacks on them. 5 attacks hitting on 3s, not re-rolling, so those 2s go away, and wounding on 3s. Oh, triple 1, nothing.
So I'm going to pick the Chain Rasps to go, because they are closest to the Secators, and if I pile them in, they can move 3 inches away from Xandria, so she can't fight. So they'll end up piling in like that. 5 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2, and wounding on 4s, getting 1.
A 4+ save, not re-rolling, because we haven't got any shields left.
So that's a wound. Put it on the non-prime.
Yeah, the wound goes on the one with the normal hammer.
Yeah, and then the Grimghast get to go. So we have 4 attacks with the Scythes. We have to do them first, hitting on 4s, not getting anything. And then the Bell hits on a 3 from the Extoller. Ugh, come on. And then there'll be a Battletop test for the Secators, because they took 2 casualties.
So on a 6, another one runs away. Oh, just about.
Yeah. And that'll be the end of the battle round. So the Stormcast easily won the wound off. Yeah, it's lots. So they get 2 victory points for that. But I think I have more models within 3 of the Garrison. It looks like it's going to be 6 to 5, so I get 2 victory points for that. So it's all to play for in the last battle round. So now we're going to be rolling off for the final battle round. I got a 6.
I didn't.
So seeing as I won the roll-off, I'm actually going to go first. So we'll head into Nighthaunt turn 4. So I gain a command point in my movement phase. The Chain Rasps and the Grimghast Reapers are actually going to fall back and run at the same time. The Chain Rasps roll a 6, which is enough to get them all the way to the other side of the objective. Basically to get away from this very scary unit down here. And then the Knight of Shrouds is going to take a risk. He's going to stay in combat with the Secators and try and kill them. So we'll head to the combat phase. Yeah, I'm going to use Lord of Gheists on myself with my command point.
And I'll declare power to weapons because I don't have any shields left.
Yeah. So he actually has to pile in a tiny bit to get within an inch, but he will do so. So he has 5 attacks with his sword, hitting on 3s, getting 2, come on. Wounding on 3s, 2 wounds.
5+ save, made 1 failed one.
Yeah, so 2 damage so far. And then the horse has 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2. He's as good as the rider. Wounding on 5s. 1, come on horse.
4+ save.
Yes! So the Secretary Prime gets trampled. And that will be it for my turn, so we'll head into Stormcast turn 4.
So again a command point, and then we'll try and do Spirit Storm, as it will hit everything if it goes off. Needing a 7. Ah, she failed at last.
Yeah, that is important.
And we'll try and do Empower as well. Needing a 6, no, that failed as well.
That's very important.
So we've got to go for it, we're all going to come this way, and then onto the charge phase. We'll start with Xandria. She gets a 4, which is enough to get her into the Knight of Shrouds. I'm going to re-roll that because even an extra inch will let us strike at the Grimghast Reapers, which is what I needed to do. Okay, that's good. Xandria will finish there. She's not within 3 inches of the Grimghast Reapers at the moment, but when she piles in, she will be able to do so. And then we'll charge with the Evocators as well. A 9 is fine. That gets them all within range of the Knight of Shrouds. On to the combat phase. I'm going to pick Xandria first. She'll pile in like this, and she's within 2-inch weapon range of them. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. Oh dear, 2 ones.
That's important. So I'll pick the Knight of Shrouds, and he's going to attack the Evocators, because if I manage to kill one, that's a fair few fewer attacks against me. 4 attacks with the Sword of Stolen Hours, hitting on 3s. 3 hits. And wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
5 plus saves. Made 2, that's enough to
save 1, yeah.
For the moment.
2 hits, 2 attacks from the horse, sorry. 2 hits. Wounding on 5s. 1 wound. Come on, horse. Come on,
4
horse.
plus save.
Come on, horse.
Oh. So one of the Evocators is down to 1 wound, and then they get to strike the Knight of Shrouds. 13 attacks hitting on 3s. Only 6 hits. Wounding on 3s. There's only 3 wounds.
4 plus saves. Made 1, so he's down to 3.
But then we get Celestial Lightning Arc, 6 dice, 4s to do mortal wounds. He's only got 3 left. There we go, it's 4 mortal wounds.
So he's going to go down. Yeah, then the Grimghast Reapers get to pile into Xandria. So they will pile in and get within their weapon range. 4 attacks from the sides, hitting on 4s. Getting some hits this time. 3. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds. Miles on rend.
4 plus save. Oh, made 1, failed 1. That's down to the bell.
Down to the Extoller. 1 attack on a 3. Of course he missed. So that's it at the end of the battle round. Stormcast get 2 victory points for killing 6 wounds worth of models to my 4, but I hold the objective with my 5 remaining models to 4 remaining Stormcast. So we will end with a Nighthaunt victory, 9 victory points to 7. And we'll recap the game for you now. So that was the game for issue 45 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How did you think that went?
I thought it was a very interesting game. It's difficult to know what I could have done differently other than not roll some 1s to wound at crucial moments.
It was extremely close. Failing to cast Spirit Storm sort of ended up losing you the game because you would have had more models than me left, but I suppose then I probably would have concentrated on Xandria, and if I'd killed her I would have won on wounds if it had all gone the same way.
And likewise, even failing Spirit Storm, if I'd killed the Grimghast Reapers with Xandria, then I might have held the objective instead.
Yeah.
Or like if I hadn't rolled so well for my Celestial Lightning Arc,
you would have had a Spirit Host left, which might have slowed down the Evocators a little longer.
Yeah, because I only needed to have an equal number of models on the objective and it would have been a draw, or if I had won the objective then I would have won. But equally, as we said, you'd killed something like Xandria, you would have won on models. So yeah, there were a lot of things in there that were very close. In fact, after my charge, it looked like I was probably just going to win. But then some poor rolling from the Secretors, combined with your sensible battle plan of destroy the Secretors and then run away, meant that you were able to then turn it around. So,
and I think also the fact that one of my units is literally just bigger than your entire army, so I can just move it in range of the objective. And I got victory points through objectives every turn.
Yeah, you got all 8. And you basically get guaranteed 3 victory points in the first turn. Because I go first, I have no way of damaging your models. In turn 1.
Guaranteed to get 3 unless I don't move.
And also the fact that the whole thing was the objective as well, being 3 inches, meant that you were able to use your manoeuvrability to basically just sort of skirt around it. At one point we were kind of almost running in opposite directions around the building.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have been the start of the 3rd battle round where you went first. I think if I'd gone first, I would have actually started moving away just to basically just put all my forces on one side and try and kill whichever unit you send that way, and then spend the rest of the game running away from the other side. Again, Stormcast large bases, it takes you ages to get around such a big terrain piece. And I suppose it is interesting to have on a board like this where it basically divided the battlefield into 2 lanes, which you don't usually see, because normally you can just move over terrain.
In the first turn, I was kind of moving to go around, I guess, the top side of the thing as you saw it, but then you decided to move the other way, so then Xandria and the Evocators changed direction again. It'd be interesting to see what would have happened if I had gone first myself in turn 2 when I won the roll-off. I mean, the reason I didn't is because I didn't really want to advance up 5 inches, fail a long charge, and then let you charge me with whatever you wanted. It meant you were able to move away, but then, on the other hand, it meant that I was able to get the double turning, and then I was able to charge myself.
And also, just the fact that due to the way the scenario is on the small size of the board, you basically just can't use the garrison rules. The only rule that's relevant is that you can't move across the terrain feature unless you can fly.
Yeah, because, well, unless one of us played in a strange way, we'd always have units within 3 inches of the objective, because it's the objective, but that's what prevents you garrisoning it.
And if you did that, though, your opponent could actually fit their entire army inside the garrison, in which case you probably can't actually get them out of it. It'd be extremely difficult. I guess the Spirit Host would be ideal, I suppose, because you'd have to mortal wound your way through all the enemies.
Yeah, if one of these armies had a blanket -1 to hit, and then Stormcast could have got the +1 to save as well.
Xandria would have had a 2+ save. It would have been extremely difficult.
So yeah, it's kind of strange that we had those rules in the magazine and then didn't. They were impossible to use.
I do like the garrison rules. I have to look carefully at the terrain, see if we can use this again.
It's one of those things that if you have a much larger board with larger armies, a lot more terrain features, then having one or two of them garrisonable just adds another tactical dimension.
It'd probably be really handy for like the ballista, actually, and the castigators to put them in it. They'll be covered while they shoot out of it.
It also gives them a larger footprint so they can shoot further as well. But at the same time, I guess it makes them easier to attack.
But still -1 to hit and a +1 to their saves.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the old terrain used in a new way as well.
Yeah, because we haven't seen this terrain, literally since issue 20.
Yeah, probably since the last Graveyard issue, yeah.
So it's nice to be able to get it out the box.
Yeah, and I will use some of the other terrain rules in later games, just to make the battlefield a bit more interesting as well. I think most of the time we'll probably stick to using the war scrolls if we have them, but stuff like the statue will use the random terrain. Probably not forget them, but yeah.
Yeah, there are some interesting rules in there, but the problem with rules like that is that you can just forget they exist. On top of all the other things you have to remember, you also have to remember that a specific terrain feature has a specific effect.
But otherwise, I don't think there's too much more to say about this game or this issue, so if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe and leave any comments. If you played this game, how did it go for you? Or if there are any house rules you have for terrain, it might be interesting to know as well. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.